Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning. Welcome to a Friday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Show lineup today is we'll have JC with our Peaceland Dentistry, JC and the QB Weekend Pick. Second portion of the program will be joined by Clint Stoerner, former Arkansas quarterback, talking about the Hogs. But first, let's go to the Titan More hotline and on location. We have Corn Dog. Good morning, JC. How are you?
Yeah. Hey, QB. The Corn Dog is in Philadelphia, Mississippi. I'm on the fifth floor of what is known as the Golden Moon. And right across the street from the Golden Moon is the Silver Star. And we have a golf tournament to play. It was an annual tournament we play in April. You're a part of. You're a former champion of.
Two-time champ.
Okay. And this year, because of coronavirus, they had to move it to November. Smaller field. I expect to win it. I probably will win it and have my name on the cup as well. And the weather here is beautiful, just like I'm sure it's going to be in Augusta today. We have all the storm and everything moved out to sea, and we've got 48 degrees and clear conditions today. So I'm really excited to be in Mississippi, but I'm very excited to be with you there at Augusta. I see that you're sitting underneath the tree there. It looks good. And I think, with the tournament having started and with them getting off early today, hopefully they'll get the second round finished and completed by the end of the day, and then we'll have the cut and get ready for the weekend, which is, of course, what we all look forward to as golf fans at the Masters is the weekend at Augusta. So I'm with you, man. It's going to be a great tournament here. It's going to be a great tournament there. So actually 2 Masters tournaments going on right now. And the one we'll talk about in Georgia, I think is really setting up to be quite an exciting tournament. The conditions I think are there for scoring. Casey gets, he goes 7 under, and Simpson and Thomas are 5 under after 10 holes yesterday. I mean, I think it's going to be in the mid-teens or upper teens if the conditions are soft.
Yeah, I mean they're just firing at the holes. I mean,
they're firing.
I still haven't figured out why Augusta National refuses to grow the rough. I wish they would grow the rough to U.S. Open length because that would make a huge difference. But it's such a great golf course because there's so many par fives that guys have an opportunity to eagle. Now a couple of par fours, they're drivable, which I like. But yesterday they were just
firing away. They're firing away. There's
so many low scores.
I think maybe one of the reasons they don't have the rough so high is because they want the patrons to walk freely through the grass. I really can't say.
Well, there ain't no patrons there.
I know, that's right. So that's why it could have been done differently to make it harder. But I do think that these guys are going to light it up. They're going to light the place up, and it's ready to be taken. But at any rate, look, it's a major. We at least get it. It was not known we would get it this year. And, game day, college game day, tomorrow we'll be there getting ready for the big college football weekend, which it's gotten a lot smaller, with all the cancellations that we've had this weekend, specifically in the SEC. So it's unfortunate. I mean, LSU, and we'll get to football here in a second, but just looking at what LSU is losing this weekend financially, they have to figure out a way to play this game. Because economically they are getting destroyed not having the Alabama game, up to maybe $8 to $10 million loss in the athletic budget. So
they're going to make $8 to $10 million having like 20,000 people there?
That's what they're going to lose. That's what I'm saying, though.
But that's what they would make from this one game?
This is their Christmas almost, the Alabama game, because all the Alabama fans come. Now, with this being said,
but you can only have about 20,000 people.
No, I know that, but they're still going to lose up to millions and millions of dollars just by not having the game. And I get it with the fans and the concessions and the traveling, so it's not going to be as bad a loss, but it's still they're going to take a hit, and they're going to want to play this game because I was reading in The Athletic that if they don't play this game, they're going to lose up to $8 million. And then I quit reading it because it was too depressing. So, I mean, these other sports, as we know, depend on football. And these other sports are getting ready to start, specifically basketball. And then you have the women's and other men's sports in the spring. And, even if they don't play, even if they do play, they're not going to make the same type of revenue, obviously, but they're going to make something. They're going to have something. And they really want to play this game badly, but they're not going to. So we haven't heard from the SEC because why would Greg Sankey be proactive on anything? And so, and don't tell me he was proactive by starting the season. He followed the ACC to see what they would do first. So let's just make that clear. Swofford made the decision to play football this year. So I don't know why we haven't heard that you could take the LSU game and play Alabama next week and move these games to the 19th during the weekend of the SEC championship and have Kentucky and Alabama play on the 12th.
Well,
and there's a lot of options they could have done to make this happen, at least in December, but we'll see if they do.
we had Brent Beard on yesterday, and he talked about what he is hearing from the league office or his sources. Yeah. He's saying that Florida and Alabama, from what he's hearing, will have a bye week before the championship game.
Yes.
But other SEC schools will be playing games the day of the championship game.
Right, that's right. So, and that could mean that LSU so if they have a bye week on the 12th, then they wouldn't play the LSU Alabama.
That's what
game.
I just said. He said.
I know.
He said word is that Alabama and Florida will not play the week before the championship game, and that's what I said.
Yeah,
because it doesn't make sense. Makes no sense to make them play.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the regular football world, Florida and Alabama do play the week before the SEC championship game. So I don't know why this would be any different, frankly. When Florida plays Florida State, they do. They play Florida State, and then they go play in
Florida does, but Alabama usually doesn't. They usually
Alabama played Auburn. Auburn played Georgia 2 years ago and got murdered on the field because Kerryon Johnson could barely walk after the Alabama game. They played a week after.
At one time, they had bye weeks, I know.
Yeah, that was very rare. Usually, Florida and Alabama, the West and the East have rivalry games before the first weekend in December. Just look at the calendar. And so this year, I don't know why it's any different. Hell, they're only playing 10. So, I mean.
Well, the difference is Alabama doesn't have anything scheduled. Well, that's the difference.
Okay, so I gave you the solution to that. All you have to do is play LSU and Alabama next week. Move the Kentucky-Alabama game to the 12th. Kentucky doesn't have a game on the 12th. It's not that hard, QB. You put Kentucky on the 12th. That's it.
To me, it just makes more sense for those two teams not to play at all.
Okay,
well, you think about it. Those two teams have an opportunity to represent the conference in the 14 playoff. So give them every advantage that they can for both teams to because if Florida beats Alabama, both teams are going to go to the 14 playoff.
Very
likely.
Loss. It's very likely.
We got a couple Facebook Live here's brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Just want to give a shout out to Kyle and Dan. JC, they gave us some stars.
Oh, I love the stars. How many did we get?
That I don't know, but Dan also just said on Facebook Live, he goes, just cancel all of Vanderbilt's game. That's the solution.
Yeah, no. Did you ever find out what the stars mean, QB? You asked. You were going to do that. That was your homework assignment.
We'll ask the producer at the break.
Okay. Well, I think. Well, it's a good thing to get stars and not Rotten Tomatoes, QB. But look, I think you just mentioned a scenario that just triggered me for a minute. If Florida were to beat Alabama, let's say in that game, and both teams ended the season with one loss. And then you had Clemson beat Notre Dame, and both of those teams ended the season with one loss. What would you do with Ohio State, or would you have to kick out one of those teams? You'd have to kick out one of those teams.
Well, here's the scenario. I mean, because it's going to be very, very interesting. And the committee, with all the craziness that's happened this year, this should have been the year they expanded it.
Absolutely.
For trial. Absolutely. Because if Florida beats Alabama and Florida goes – they'll be good. Let's just say they don't play that one game, so they'll go 8-1.
Yeah.
Alabama will go 8-1.
Right.
A&M will end up 8-1, unless they play their extra game. They could go 9-1
or 9-1.
All three of those teams have one loss. They all beat one another.
Yeah.
So how do you determine? Now, I think the SEC champion, the team that is raising that trophy with the confetti coming down in the Georgia
That's automatic. That's an automatic.
Automatically goes.
Yeah. Right.
But
you've got Notre Dame in the ACC with Clemson, and if Clemson were to beat them in a close game, what are you going to kick Notre Dame out? No chance. So what are you going to do with Clemson? Well, you have to put them in. What are you going to do with Ohio State? The problem they're going to have is not whether or not they should go, but how many games they're going to end up playing. Ohio State is not making up that game with Maryland. If they have another COVID-19 issue, they may end up with only 6 games. So we get to the issues of why didn't the Big Ten have any contingency plans? It's because they were set up to fail. They were trying to make everybody happy. They were trying to make the Corona brothers happy. They were trying to make the football people happy. And they didn't plan it well, and people should get fired. But the fact of the matter is that you could look at an Ohio State team that's as good as anybody in the country with 6 games on their resume. And then you've got Texas A&M with 10. You could have Florida and LSU with 9. You could have, not LSU, but Alabama with 9. You could have Clemson and Notre Dame with 9 or 10. What do you do with Ohio State? It's really going to be a situation where these guys should absolutely expand it to 6 teams or 8 and move this thing through January. Nobody cares if you're competing with the NFL. Not one person cares. So I just think that's forward thinking that we're not getting because these people are stubborn. They're very stubborn. This is a year they could do something like this and see how it plays out, because you're right. There's going to be more than 4 teams that should be in this. If Florida wins, if Clemson beats Notre Dame, if these teams play out the schedule, but we don't even know if they're going to play 3 more games. So who knows?
Yeah. JC, real quick before we get to our picks and stuff, did you get to watch any of the NFL game last night? The Colts beat the Titans.
I did watch it. Yes. They have a lot of interesting things you can do while watching football here in these resorts. But the Colts looked really impressive defensively to me.
They're the number 1 defense in the league.
Yeah, and Tennessee, I don't know what it is with Tennessee in the kicking game, but Gostkowski is missing field goals that he used to not miss at New England. And they had a punter last night who came onto the team and kicked a 17-yard kick.
He shanked it.
I'm telling you right now, you could have put me in there. I could have caught the snap and kicked that ball more than 17 yards.
Guaranteed. Yeah, well, you could have shanked it too. I'm sure you have some shanks. You have some shanks in the bag today, I'm sure. All right, JC. So let's, because I want to get back to some Masters talk, but let's go ahead and go through our Peachland Dentistry.
You want to do that
JC
now?
and the QB weekend picks. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. If you need a filling or something like that, that's where you got to go.
Oh yeah, root canals are good there too. I'm sure Joe can take care of that for you. For all your root canal needs, just call Joe at Peachland Dentistry. We are both tied for the year with some just spectacular picking. I am specifically very hot QB with 15 wins and only 5 losses in the last 2 weeks. However, you are staying strong. We're both 39 and 27 against the spread. I think that's incredible. So let's go with the first game I've got for us here out of the ACC, and that would be the Miami Hurricanes getting 2.5 on the road at Virginia Tech, who's coming off a very difficult loss to Liberty, which has gotten Hugh Freeze, by the way, a contract extension and has made him one of the 3 highest paid coaches in the group of 5. So Hugh Freeze is making some noise out there, and he's not in any hurry to get out of Liberty. They gave him a chance to come back into the game, and he's done it, and he's been wildly successful. Good for Hugh Freeze. He's turned his life around. And he is doing great for Liberty. But this is about Virginia Tech and Miami. Who do you like?
The game is at Virginia Tech, obviously. Yes. Miami's ranked in the top 10, and somehow are they an underdog?
They are getting 2.5, yeah.
Okay, something fishy there. The people out, what do they say, those folks out west know something?
Sometimes. Now they've missed on some games. But
I'm going to go with the Hokies at home. I've never been – I've been saying it from day one. I don't think Miami's a very good football team. They were very fortunate to beat NC State. NC State put 40-something on them the other night. Virginia Tech's better than they are on offense. I'm going with the Hokies.
I like that pick, too. I'm going to take those 2.5 points. I might do it here, too. Indiana is laying –
I thought Virginia Tech was the favorite.
I beg your pardon. They're laying 2.5. I don't care. They're going to win by more than a field goal. You're right.
Oh, I figured you would take Miami.
No, I just can't. I can't buy them yet. I just don't trust them. India. Now, if they win this game and win it convincingly, then I'll start believing maybe. Indiana, the surprise of the Big Ten, truly, along with Northwestern and Purdue, all unbeaten teams. They were going to play. Well, they are going to play at Michigan State, and they're going to lay 7 points against a team that beat up on Michigan, then consequently got blown out by Iowa. I got no idea what this team is all about. I don't think they're that good, but they looked good against Michigan. But who knows what they're going to have. I think Indiana laying 7 looks pretty good to me because they can score and they're playing good defense.
Yeah, I like the Hoosiers. I mean, it's a magical year so far for them.
It really is.
They got a really good athletic quarterback. He's from the Tampa area.
Yeah,
he turned down Tennessee, went to Indiana, believe it or not.
Penix, yeah.
Penix, yeah, Michael Penix Jr. So I'll take the Hoosiers.
All right, so they're laying 7, so they got to cover that for us to win that pick. TCU is playing a pretty good little West Virginia team that's won 3 out of 4 games. They buried Kansas State last week in the Big 12. It's funny that we're not even talking about the Big 12 much because their teams are so evenly. I think they're very balanced in that league. Nobody's sticking out. Maybe Oklahoma's going to win that conference. But TCU is getting 3 points on the road at West Virginia. Any pick there?
TCU at West Virginia. I'm going to take the Mountaineers at home.
Golly, we're 3 for 3 on these picks so far. Maybe I'll get you on this one. Boston College at home against Notre Dame, coming off that huge win, laying 13.5 points, just under 2 touchdowns. Professional wagerers taking Notre Dame would buy that half point up to, beat Boston College would buy that half point up to 14, but they're getting 13.5, and they're at home against Notre Dame. I think this is letdown city for Notre Dame. I just do.
I do too. BC is a good little team right now.
They are.
The reason is their quarterback, he's a transfer from Notre Dame, Jerkovich or something along those lines, and he's played well this year.
Yes.
You got to think Notre Dame's going to have somewhat of a letdown. I think they win the football game, but I think it's very close.
I think it'll be a 10-point game, and I think BC covers. Here's the Big Ten game of the week. Now, who would have thought, QB, after 4 or 5 weeks of playing or 3 weeks of playing, that Northwestern and Purdue would be the Big Ten game of the week? But it clearly is because both teams are undefeated. The Wildcats are 3-0. The Boilers are 2-0. Both have pretty solid teams right now going. Purdue with a good offense, Northwestern with a really good defense. And Northwestern's ranked 23 under Pat Fitzgerald. What a job he's done to turn that thing around after a bad season last year. And Northwestern is laying just under a field goal at Purdue, 2.5 points. This is the Big Ten game of the week.
I like the Boilers. Jeff Brom, their head coach, I've always been a huge fan of. I think he's a tremendous play caller. He has missed a couple of games due to COVID. His little brother, Brian Brom, called the plays. I don't know if Jeff Brom's back, but I'm going to go with, what's interesting is Northwestern has always kind of been that team that's played great defense and been boring as hell to watch on offense.
Yeah.
They actually have a transfer quarterback that started for Indiana that got beat out by the Penix kid beat him out. So he transferred, and he's brought some life to their offense. Having said all that, I like the Boilers at home.
I'm going to take I trust Northwestern. I like the way they play. They're smart. They don't make a lot of mistakes.
You like their GPA, team GPA?
Well, yeah, but they're smart on the football field. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't hurt themselves. And they're a good defensive team. I'm just going to go ahead and lay the 2.5. So there's our first difference of opinion. The next game we could differ on as well because Wisconsin is playing again. This is their first game since they beat Illinois, which seems like 3 months ago. They are laying 4.5 at Michigan. That's kind of odd to me. Wisconsin hasn't played in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, something like that. But their quarterback, Graham Mertz, was the reason they couldn't play because he got sick or he had the virus. But he is really a good player. He lit up Illinois. He was the 3rd player in major college football ever to throw 5 touchdowns and complete 95% of his passes. He did that against Illinois. That's hard to do. You have a 95% completion percentage and throw 5 touchdowns. So a lot of guys were open in that game, evidently. And Graham Mertz is back, they think, for Wisconsin, and they are laying 4.5 at Michigan, who is struggling right now but has played a lot more football.
I'm going to go with your theory about trusting a team. I'm going to trust the Badgers.
Yeah.
I just don't trust the Wolves at all.
Okay, I against my better judgment, I think Wisconsin will win the game, but something tells me that line should be more than 4.5. I want to take Michigan. I think Michigan might play better this weekend. I don't know if Wisconsin will be rusty. Mertz, he's probably going to be fine and he'll play well. But I'm just, for some reason, I don't really like this pick, but I'm going to take the 4.5 points.
Okay.
And take Michigan. All right, we go to the SEC. And we've had 4 games canceled, as you know, and it's unfortunate. It really is. This was a big weekend for Alabama and LSU. They will not play, it looks like. Whether they make it up, it remains to be seen. But in this other case, we've got a team that's really starting to hit their stride and a team that's just reeling right now. South Carolina is struggling. They are getting 11 points against an Ole Miss team that you once said had the worst defense you've ever seen in the SEC. But they are laying 11 points. The reason? Because Matt Corral is really hitting it, and Lane Kiffin's going to throw it all over the football field. What do you think there? That's 11 points.
That's a lot of points for Ole Miss to lay. Gosh,
it is.
I think Ole Miss is going to win this game, and maybe they're coming off a bye week, so it could have hurt their momentum a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, South Carolina's so bad on offense. I'm gonna lean to South Carolina keeping it close but losing the game, only because Ole Miss defense is so bad.
They are, and South Carolina's going to run the football. They're just going to run the football, and that kid can run the football. I mean, that kid's a good runner. You saw him here in Gainesville. I worry about the way they just don't seem like they really care right now. I mean, they were so bad against Texas A&M, who's playing well, but my God, they couldn't even sniff the end zone. I'm going to take Ole Miss, and that's against my better judgment as well. That's a lot of points. I hate laying them. I just think South Carolina's
but it could be 14-0 after 2 drives.
It could be, but I think South Carolina's going to try to take the air out of the ball. Vanderbilt is playing Kentucky. How about this one?
I bet a lot of people will be tuned in for that one.
Hey, we're not going to pick the spread. We're going to take the over-under. 42 points. 42 points with 2 of the worst offenses you've ever watched in your life. Ever.
Ooh, that's very low for college. And you know what? I'm going to take it. Common sense says take the under because they both stink.
Yeah.
But I see a bunch of pick sixes, block punts, bad snaps. I'm taking the over.
Okay. I thought I was going to get you on this one. I'm going to take the over too because everybody thinks and knows the under's coming in. That leads us to Arkansas, bringing Felipe Franks, former Gator quarterback, back home to Gainesville. They're catching 17.5 against the high-riding Gators, who had the biggest win in years last weekend.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts will be out for this game. I don't think they miss a beat offensively. What's going to be interesting in this game is, Arkansas is a story of college football, what they've done, and I think they've had a heck of a year. But they're one of those teams, JC, that they play extremely hard. They're well coached. They give great effort, but there's no something that jumps out and says, man, that's a good football team.
Yeah.
They're going to rush 3, drop 8 into coverage, but the difference is our quarterback is accurate. He's patient. He will dink and dunk until we have an opportunity to take shots. I think Florida wins this game in blowout fashion.
Wow, blowout fashion. So what kind of score are you thinking?
I think Florida's going to win 42-16 type game.
Wow, 42-16. Well, I got them winning 42-21, and that would cover the 17. So there you have it. We are now at our NFL game of the week, and the only reason I'm moving quickly here, QB, is because I have to go take care of something here momentarily. But let's go to the Chargers and the Dolphins.
That's Miami's the game of the week?
In the NFL for us, because even though the Chargers suck, the Dolphins have caught fire. 2 is 2-0, and they're 5-3 right now, and they're playing great defense. And they're only laying 2.5 points. Why is that?
The Dolphins are laying 2.5 to the Chargers.
That's it.
Where at?
It's down in Miami.
Oh wow!
Chargers find ways to lose games, and they could easily be 5-2, 6-2, but they're 2-7.
They do find ways, but that just doesn't make much sense to me. So I'm going to go against what, I look at it and say the Dolphins should win, but I'm taking the Chargers.
Okay, I got you. I want to take Miami. QB, that is our picks contest. We have one difference. Purdue, you got Purdue, I got Northwestern. No, you have Wisconsin, I've got Michigan. We've both got the over in the Vandy, Kentucky game. You've got South Carolina, I've got Ole Miss. So that's our differences. Before we talk more golf, can we take a quick timeout, you think, perhaps?
Yeah, we'll take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We only got a few more minutes.
Okay, well.
No, we're good, JC. I know you got stuff going on your trip. You have a good time, man. We'll be fine. I got a lot of golf I can talk and catch up on my Facebook Live.
I'm sorry.
It's all good, sorry. JC. Hit them straight. Don't do any shanks out there, my man.
All right, we'll talk about it on Monday.
All right, that's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline at Chris Stoerner Mortgage. They do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Stoerner Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. The Masters has kicked off. They're still trying to finish up round one. Dylan Fratelli, good gracious, he's 6 under, and he's still got 6 holes left today.
Oh, Dylan.
What's interesting to me is our man Bernhard Langer, at probably age 60-something, is 4 under through 12 holes.
Wow.
So he is golfing his ball.
He is something else. Well, those conditions are slow. They've got to get them harder. But, yeah. Okay, QE. All
right, JC. Have a good round, my friend.
Okay. Thank you, buddy.
Most people who are Tiger Woods fans, Tiger played extremely well, went bogey-free yesterday, shot 4 under par. He's tied for 7th right now, but he better play good today because these boys are going to light it up. But good gracious. My guy, Xander Schauffele's 5 under through 1 round. Paul Casey shot 7 under. But, yeah, it's on TV right now if you want to check it out. We got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Meldon Law, the only law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Gino says, watching the Masters and hearing the Wizard JC making college football picks, once-in-a-lifetime stuff. No doubt about that. Chris says LSU had the COVID in the summer. Notre Dame had it in the fall. 3 months difference. I guess you can get it again. I don't really know what they're referring to there. But yeah, so if you want to, don't forget, second portion of the show, we got a few more minutes here, and then we're going to go to break, and then we're going to be joined by Clint Stoerner, former Arkansas quarterback, does radio in the Houston area and covers the Hogs and NFL. We'll be talking about and get his thoughts on Sam Pittman and what the Razorbacks have done so far this year. Also, folks, refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. November is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Hang on, I got to respond to this text. I got a text here on the Titan MR hotline. It comes from Joe. Joe wants to know, Shane, what do you think the reception for Felipe will be Saturday night? I think the Gator fans, when they introduce him, there's only going to be, 15, 16,000 people there. Maybe not even that many since it's a Saturday night game, late game. I think they'll give him a warm reception. I mean, the kid, I know he had some issues with the crowds at times, but he battled for the Gators. Not always it was perfect, but, he did his best. And I think the Gator fans will give him a warm welcome. I'm trying to get some updates here on the Masters. Looks like Siwoo Sunjae M is 5 under through 11 holes. Good gracious, these guys are just lighting this place up. But it's phenomenal. I could sit here and watch golf all day at Augusta. Dan says they didn't score 32 in the first 3 games combined. I'm not sure what that's referring to. He says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of your Florida Gators. Dan says, I hope the crowd doesn't boo Franks. They won't. They won't at all. There's no way. If they do, they need to be escorted out. You shouldn't boo college kids. You can boo the coaches and professional athletes, in my opinion, but don't boo collegiate athletes. I want to get to our comfort temp play of the day at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. The month, get a free annual maintenance plan with every residential duct cleaning purchased, which is a $199 value. Our service department is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for your convenience at Comfort Temp. On this day in 1992, Riddick Bowe wins the undisputed world heavyweight boxing crown with a unanimous points decision over Evander Holyfield in Las Vegas. That was their first of their 3 meetings. That play today is brought to you by our good friends and the good folks at Comfort Temp. We're going to take our first time out of the program. We come back, we'll be joined by Clint Stoerner. But first, at Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. We'll be right back. We'll be joined by Clint Stoerner when we come back.
This is Shane Matthews. Thank you for listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. You can also check me out on Inside the Huddle with Steve Russell and the head ball coach Steve Spurrier. Tune in every Tuesday during football season on WRUF 98.1 FM, 8:50 a.m. at 10 o'clock in the morning, or find us on your favorite podcast platform. We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Radware for all your promotional needs, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to a Friday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Skechers, Sushi Hana, and coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate. We're now going to go, to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by former Arkansas quarterback Clint Stoerner. Good morning, Clint. How are you?
Man, I'm doing well. Good to be with you today, man.
Yeah. Let's go back to your days. You know, y'all had some really good teams back when you were playing at Arkansas. And the one play that I'm sure you hate talking about it, just like I hate talking about that interception I threw it in the first ever championship game. You're scrambling outside the pocket at Neyland Stadium. You brace yourself with the football. You fumble it. And Tennessee wins that game and goes on to win the national title. Is that one of those kind of plays that just sticks in your mind every day?
Oh, yeah. Look, man, there's no doubt about it. I thank the Lord that there wasn't social media back then, because I'd had a hard time handling that as a 21-year-old, but it's a little easier to handle as a 42-year-old at this point in time. But, yeah, man, I mean, it's, you know, I think I've taken it as in stride as I possibly could over the years. I mean, it's, you know, being an old quarterback, man, you don't ever forget the opportunities that were placed in front of you, especially the ones that you didn't capitalize on. And that was one of them, man. We were one of the best teams in the country that year. I firmly believe it. We had played toe-to-toe with some of the best teams the SEC had to offer. And unfortunately, one play bled into the next game versus Mississippi State. And we allowed an opportunity to at least play in an SEC championship, if not a national championship. We let it slip away. So definitely, man, it's definitely one of those plays that sticks with me and forever will. But, hey, I mean, you got two choices, man. Either something like that crushes you or it helps shape you. And for me, man, it's helped me get to the point in life where I'm at and dealing with adversity and dealing with, negative media attention and things of that nature. So it's all good, man. We're living a good life.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's talk about Arkansas over the last 3 or 4 years. Chad Morris was the head coach. They couldn't win any games. And I don't know how close you were to the program or still are, but that had to be a rough time for the Arkansas fan base while they were going through that transition with Chad Morris.
Yeah, it was. Look, the Arkansas fan base they've been beat up pretty good, man. The fall of Bobby Petrino, it happened so swiftly, so quickly. That it really shook, Razorback Nation. It shook the fan base. It obviously shook the program from recruiting and things of that nature, the trickle-down effect of losing your head coach. And look, Bobby Petrino was a guy that was, he was the architect and the contractor, so to speak. He was the one guy that was pulling all the strings. And when you cut the head of that snake off, the way Jeff Long was forced to do, things got loose there at Arkansas for a few years, and trying to recover from that. I think Bielema took a step in the right direction, obviously. Chad Morris, I thought, was a great hire scheme-wise. I thought he was an ascending coach that had helped build Clemson and helped turn around SMU, and it just didn't work, man. And it proved to be too big of a job and too big of a responsibility for Chad Morris. And it, again, the program took a hit because there was obviously a disconnect between the head coach and the players, the head coach and the fan base. And Arkansas is just a place that you can't afford for that to happen. The state produces, if we're being honest, probably 5 or 6 legitimate D1 SEC caliber players a year, and that may be a little bit of a stretch. And so, man, you need everybody pulling in the same direction. You need recruiting to be through the roof. You need players bought in. You need the polos on the sideline to be an advantage. And I just don't know that those stars have all aligned for Arkansas since really the Bobby Petrino, the year with Ryan Mallett and those guys, Jarius Wright and all those guys. And so it's been a tough run for Arkansas, but it looks like Pittman's got them on a good track so far.
Yeah, we're speaking with Clint Stoerner here on the Titan More Hotline. You can follow him on Twitter at Clint Stoerner. Clint, were you happy with the hire of Sam Pittman? As of today, and I don't care what happens the rest of the year, in my opinion, he should be the SEC Coach of the Year. They've won 3 games, possibly should have been 4 with the Auburn debacle, but he's turned that program around. It looks like the kids like playing for him, but he wasn't a sexy hire. And I've said a lot, if I'm an athletic director, I'm going out and hiring. I will never hire a defensive guy ever again. I'm going to hire an offensive-minded head coach. Now, he's an offensive guy, but he's a damn O-line coach. Were you happy with the hire?
I was happy with the hire, but I'd be lying to you if I told you that there wasn't some concern. My only concern was Sam Pittman, because I had been around Sam Pittman. He was at Arkansas with Brett Bielema, so I'd been around him some on a personal level and knew what he brought to the table. I'm a coach, man. I'm a teacher, and that's how I played the game. It's the type of coaching that I responded to really well. And so when I see a guy like Sam Pittman, who Saban's on record as saying was the best offensive line coach in the country, obviously Kirby Smart felt that way. Several programs have felt that way. So I felt like Arkansas was getting a great coach. And I think that's what Arkansas has to have, a great coach and a great recruiter. But I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't a little bit concerned about not having ever been a head coach. I'm not a guy to sit here and minimize what being a head coach is in today's game. There's a lot more to it than just being a great coach and coaching football. It's managing 18 to 22-year-old kids. It's managing a staff. And when I say a staff, I'm not just talking about the coaches. Obviously, all the ancillary pieces that go to a program, those are tough to manage. And at Arkansas, it's the only program in the entire state. There's no pro sports. So you're really under a magnifying glass with everything you do. And so I was a little concerned with that. But I tell you, as soon as he hired Kendall Briles and Barry Odom, I thought to myself, this is a guy that hangs his ego at the door, and he's going to surround himself with the best possible coaches available in the country. And that's turned out to be a very good thing to this point. We're 6 games in. I don't know what the hell's going to happen, but I think it was a really, really good hire at the time, and we've been proven, at least for 6 weeks, to think that it was a great hire at this point.
Yeah. Well, you got the old Florida quarterback, Felipe Franks, running the offense. I don't know if you've been around Felipe. I've been around him a little bit. Great kid, a tremendous leader. It goes to show you what kind of player he is. He went through a lot here at Florida. And then when he was injured, Trask comes in and lights up every defense, and it becomes his team. But it goes to show you what Dan Mullen and his staff thought about Felipe, because they took Felipe with them down to the Orange Bowl last year. He was part of the team, even though he'd already said he was departing the school. So your thoughts on how he's played so far and how the Arkansas fans have embraced him?
Well, first of all, I'm a big Dan Mullen fan, and Brian Johnson is a Baytown guy. It's where I went to high school. He played at my high school a few years after me. So look, I followed those guys closely with Dak, and I think they're two of the best quarterback developing programs in the country. Wherever those two guys are right now, they happen to be at Florida. So I don't doubt that obviously Kyle Trask was the guy and that Felipe Franks was out for a reason. But then you move forward and you go, okay, he's in Arkansas now. And I don't take lightly the job that he's done, from taking over a locker room that, look, man, Chad Morrison stepped to the podium in post-game press conferences and said all but these guys can't win in this league. So he took over a locker room that had been beat down and beat up by their head coach. And, before you ever get to the field, a quarterback taking over a locker room like that, man, you got a lot of work to do before you build a supporting cast that you can take the field as an underdog every week and feel comfortable you can go out there and do your job. And so from Jump Street, I just think that Felipe Franks has done a hell of a job, an admirable job. We jump to on the field. You're an old quarterback, Shane. You know how hard it is to not want to do more to try to win games, not to step outside the system and try to do more than you're capable of doing. Maybe try to make a throw that you can't make. Maybe get frustrated early in the season because you're not doing as many things as the guy that replaced you at Florida. You're not putting up the numbers. It's easy to get frustrated. It's human nature to get frustrated in those situations. And man, he has handled that particular part of playing the quarterback position, again, admirably. I mean, it's I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he's played 6 games, played inside the system, not tried to do too much, and really put this team in a position, not by great play, but by not making a bunch of negative plays, not putting the team in a bad spot by quarterback play. He's allowed this team to be in games in the fourth quarter, and as you said, they should be 4-2. This team wouldn't be where they're at if it wasn't for Felipe Franks. I think we've just seen the tip of the iceberg. You'd be able to tell me more, Shane, in a sense of, how good is this kid? Because I've yet to see him rise above the system. The system's not working. Okay, you got to get outside the system and go make a play to win a ball game. Haven't seen a lot of that. Haven't seen a lot of next-level throws. I know he's got it in him. Physically, I love what he brings to the table, but I haven't seen a lot of throws where you just sit back in your chair and you go, good gosh, that's a Sunday throw. You haven't seen a lot of that yet. I think we've seen the tip of the iceberg, and I hope he can take it to that next level. But so far, so good, man. What Felipe Franks has done. I went through a coaching change. I was a part of a locker room that was beat up by Danny Ford. Weren't very good, 4-7, 2 years in a row. New coach takes over, where you grab that bull by the horns. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but it's powerful if you can do it. And Felipe's done it to this point anyway.
Yeah, Felipe, he can make all the throws. I think I've watched a lot of Arkansas this year. It's almost like he's playing really conservative because, he made some mistakes here. He's probably learned from those, not try to make those down the field throws, but he can make them all. At Clint Stoerner Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Clint Stoerner Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. A few more minutes here with Clint Stoerner here on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. Defensively, as you mentioned earlier, I don't think Arkansas has great talent right now, and they'll never have the talent of Alabama, Florida, anybody like that. But they are taking what they have, and those kids are playing hard, and they're being disciplined. And I go back watching the defense, what Barry Odom's done. It's almost a bend but don't break. And just talk a little bit about the one kid, he had 3 picks against Ole Miss, and then they're going to end up giving him a scholarship, I guess, when the season ends, something along those lines.
Yeah. redshirt freshman Hudson Clark out of Dallas, Texas. I believe he's a Highland Park kid. Look, he's carrying the torch for the white corners in this league. You don't see very many of them. You and I played against Jason Sehorn back in the day, but it's one of those deals where some of that's right place, right time kind of deal. But he's clearly a scrapper, clearly a player that is gonna hear the call, and he's going to be where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there. And there's a lot to be said for that when you're in a system that's dropping 7, rushing 4, dropping 7, rush 3, drop 8. If you're just where you're supposed to be, quarterbacks in today's game, these young gunslingers that like to drop that arm slot and sling the ball all over the park like they're Pat Mahomes, they're going to sell one here or there. They're going to make some tough decisions. And if you're in the right spot, when they're dropping 8 men into coverage, hell, you ought to have a couple of picks. And that was a big day for Hudson Clark. Obviously, it accelerated his ability to earn a scholarship, and he's played well since then. I mean, I think he was immediately named a starter. I'm not real sure hell if he was a starter before that, but he was immediately named the starter and given a little bit more of a heavy workload, and I think he's embraced that. Shane, the one in this secondary, man, that's special is Jalen Cataline. I mean, I think the A&M game turns out totally different. I'm not saying they win that football game, but the A&M game turns out totally different if he isn't ejected because of targeting early in the I think it was the second quarter. Man, if that doesn't happen, that game turns out different. Jalen Cataline is the player in that secondary that Barry Odom and him are seeing the game through the same lens. He's anticipating routes. He's a tackling fool. He's a guy that reminds me of, your Ken Hamlins, your Tony Buas, your Kenoy Kennedys back in the day. He's really, really a good player. Unbelievable instincts. He's the one in that secondary, man, that is going to help this football team win Saturday versus Florida. If they have a chance to be in that game, it's going to be because Cataline has a big day on defense.
Well, I was going to ask you last thing for you. When you look at this Florida football team, very high-powered offense, Trask has tons of weapons. He's playing at a high level. What does Arkansas need to do to keep this game close to have a chance to win in the fourth quarter?
Well, they got to play a perfect game. I mean, and I know in a lot of programs at every level, you hear the coach speak of, man, you can't turn the ball over, you can't have pre-snap penalties, and I don't ever want to go down that road. But for Arkansas, there is a severe gap in the talent levels between these two football teams, which I think hits them in the position of depth at this point in time. They can't rotate, so in the second half, they're going to be beat down. But the way Arkansas's upset football teams earlier this year, as you said, they should be 4-2, sitting at 3-3. The way they did that was they were, I believe at one point they led the SEC in third down defense. They led the SEC in red zone defense, and they led the SEC in turnovers. They've got to do those three things really, really well to have a shot versus Florida. This is the first game. Florida's by far the best team they've played. I don't think A&M. I know they beat Florida, but I don't think A&M is in the same category as Florida right now. They've got to do that. They got to do that defensively. They got to play great defensively in those categories, and then offensively, what you and I talked about earlier, man, is I think there's going to be multiple times in this game, 3 or 4 times in this game, where Felipe Franks has the ability to stay up and not slide and go get a first down, or make a big throw in the red zone for a touchdown when the perfect play's not dialed up. Felipe Franks has got to play above what we've seen to this point. Doesn't have to be Kyle Trask, but he's got to play above what we've seen to this point. You said conservative, within the system. That's all great, man. That's all great when you're playing Missouri, and that's all great when you're playing LSU this year. But when you play Alabama, Florida, A&M, your ass better be ready to play above the offense and make some plays outside of the scheme, or you're going to have a hard time winning ball games. So I think defensively, those 3 statistical things are going to be big, and I think the quarterback play obviously is going to be huge for Felipe Franks.
Yeah, last thing I wanted to ask you about the offense. Kendall Briles loves that up-tempo type offense. Now, I haven't watched every Arkansas game, but it doesn't seem like he's doing his normal up-tempo like he has at other places he's coached. Do you think that's because he realizes I don't have the right personnel right now, plus we don't want to go 3 and out in under a minute and put our defense back out on the field? Do you think he's kind of changed his way of calling plays?
Well, I don't think he's changed his way of calling plays, but I do think he's accepting 4 yards on first down. It's okay to be in 2nd and 6. You don't always have to take, the up tempo to the next level. They're playing with a lot of tempo. It's just not what we're used to seeing. He is doing a hell of a job, Shane. I mean, and maybe it's because at Arkansas, it's been a while, maybe since Bobby Petrino, that you've seen a polo on the sideline for the offense be a real advantage. But Kendall, as much as Felipe Franks has not turned it over and played within the system and helped his team win, Kendall in situations, Kendall Briles, the offensive coordinator of Arkansas, has inside the 10-yard line multiple times, just gave Felipe Franks a throw in the ocean. Whether it's a screen behind the line of scrimmage where they got the numbers and they go score, or it's some kind of fake screen and then throw the shot over the top to the tight end. Man, they're just throws in the ocean. And as an old quarterback, man, if you're not getting 1 or 2 of those a game, hell, it's hard to play the position. And Kendall Briles has done a great job of scheming those things up. From a tempo standpoint, I think when they've been in games, because so many games they've been in and it's been close, I think he's always erred on the side of understanding he doesn't have a whole hell of a lot of depth, Shane. When you look at their receivers, they got several guys producing, but they want to get Traylon Burks the ball. That's probably a day 1 draft pick for Arkansas. I got him slated as one of the best receivers in the league, and he's special. So you can only go as fast as his body's going to allow you to go. Right. This offensive line is small. They're undersized. They're not as physical. You can only go as fast as those guys can go. And in the second half, you want to make sure they're not fatigued. And so I think he's held back by the depth and by the lack of playmakers more so than the game getting out of control or anything like that. The depth at Arkansas is just a major issues. I don't know if you go to the games now with this COVID stuff, but when the kickoff and the kickoff return teams run out there, that's when you realize Arkansas is at a disadvantage. You got grown men at Florida, Georgia, LSU, Alabama, and you got high school players at Arkansas on the special teams. And so that's a gap that Sam Pittman's going to have to correct as much as he possibly can. But right now, they're just going to have to deal with it.
Man, that's good stuff, Clint. Let everybody know you're doing radio, I believe, in Houston, how they can possibly listen to your shows.
Yeah, radio.com app is the best way to do it, man. We're in Houston on Sports Radio 610. It's a flagship station for the Texans. So we talk a lot of Texans, a lot of NFL. So if that's your gig, man, you can definitely find us on the radio.com app. Again, Sports Radio 610 in Houston. You can follow me on social media at Clint Stoerner. All the different platforms. It's pretty simple, man. It's STOERNER. And just make sure you bring that thick skin because we get a little wild on social media every now and then and have a little bit of fun.
Good stuff, man. Appreciate you breaking down the Arkansas Razorbacks, and we'll talk to you soon, bud.
All right, man. Y'all be good.
That's Clint Stoerner. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. When we come back, we're going to wrap up this Friday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
Hey, Gator Nation. This is your former head ball coach, Steve Spurrier. Check out our show, Inside the Huddle with Shane Matthews and Steve Russell, every Tuesday during football season on 8:50 a.m. and 98.1 FM WRUF at 10 o'clock a.m.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte.
Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise.
Celebration Point Town Center. Center State Bank. Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Pomodoro Cafe. Big Mills Cheesesteaks. MB Listing. Cornerstone Financial. McDonald's Gainesville. My IT Masters. Gainesville Neon and Signs. 84 Lumber. Tropical Smoothie. Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, PRP Regeneration Specialist, and Dowling Signs. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Friday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. I want to thank JC for joining us, and he's out on location. And of course, Clint Stoerner talking Arkansas Razorbacks. Make sure you tune in next week. Follow us, like us, all that good stuff, folks. Want to make sure following us is key. There's no doubt about it. So that's today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe out there, folks. Enjoy the games this weekend and the Masters. We'll see you on Monday.